this. It already happened. The thing God was waiting to see from you. You already did it. And you have no idea which moment it was. Chosen one, I need you to hear this while you are still here, because this next sentence is the one you have been waiting years for someone to say. There was a night, not long ago, when you sat alone, completely emptied out, and you asked if any of it even mattered. You did not get an answer that night. This message is the answer. You have spent years believing you were waiting on God, waiting for the breakthrough, waiting for the door, waiting to finally be seen. But heaven holds a record that reads the exact opposite. You were never the one waiting. You were the one being watched. Every quiet year of your life was a silent audition. And before this message ends, you are going to know the moment you passed it without knowing. Because here is what nobody ever told you. God was not waiting to see your success. He was not waiting for you to pray longer, give more, or finally get it all right. He was waiting to see one specific thing, a thing that cannot be faked, a thing that only shows up in a person when every reason to quit has arrived and they quietly refuse. You did that thing. And the record says, He is not merely pleased, He is impressed. Before this message is over, 3 things are going to happen to you. You are going to understand why His silence was never absence, and why the years you call forgotten were the most watched years of your life. You are going to feel something lift that you have carried so long you forgot it was there, the ache of being unseen. And you are going to be handed something practical, because what stunned heaven most is that you carried all of it with a capacity the modern world quietly switched off in you when you were a child. You finished the hardest seasons of your life running on half of what you were born with. That part has a name, it has science behind it, and it can be restored. We will get there. But first, you deserve to know exactly what He saw. Because it was not what you think. It was smaller than you think. And that is precisely why it counted. Let me prove to you, right now, that this message knows you. Not the version of you that goes out into the world. The real one. The one who replays conversations at night, editing what you said, wondering if you were too much or not enough. The one who apologizes for things that were never your fault, just to keep the peace. The one who feels strangely guilty when resting, as if rest itself needed to be earned and you had not earned it yet. If your chest tightened just now, stay with me, because that tightness is not a flaw in you, it is a clue. All 3 of those habits come from the same hidden root. Somewhere along the way, you learned to read silence as rejection. When heaven went quiet, you assumed you had failed some invisible test. When people did not notice your effort, you assumed the effort did not count. So you worked harder, gave more, and shrank yourself smaller, trying to earn a gaze that was already fixed on you the entire time. Do you see the cruelty of that misunderstanding? You were performing for an audience that never left the room. I am not going to fully unpack that root yet. It goes deeper than you think. And when we reach the bottom of it later in this message, something in you is going to unclench for the first time in years. For now, just hold this one piece of relief. The silence was never a verdict. The silence was attention. There is a difference between someone ignoring you and someone watching you so closely. They do not want to interrupt. You have been living inside the second one while grieving the first. If that sentence found you, I want you to do something small but real. Type the words "I was seen" in the comments below. Not for me. For you. There is something that happens in a person when they stop only thinking a truth and start declaring it. Somewhere in the world right now, another tired soul is going to scroll past your words and realize they are not alone either. Your 3 words might be the reason they stay. Now let me show you what He was actually watching for. Because heaven does not measure what the world measures, and once you see the true measuring line, your entire past is going to rearrange itself in front of you. The world measures outcomes. Heaven measures responses. The world asks what you built, what you earned, what you won. Heaven asks a stranger question. It asks what you did in the exact moment when doing the right thing stopped paying you back. That moment is the most valuable piece of information about a soul, because that is the only moment when goodness costs full price. Anyone can be kind when kindness is rewarded. Anyone can be faithful when faithfulness is applauded. But there is a rare kind of person who keeps choosing it in the dark, at full cost, with no witnesses and no receipts. God was waiting to see which kind you were. And here is the first sign that you are the rare kind. You kept doing right when no one was watching. Think back with me, honestly. There were moments you could have cut the corner. Moments you could have paid back cruelty with cruelty, and everyone would have said you were justified. Moments you could have walked away from a responsibility that no one would have blamed you for dropping, and something in you would not allow it. You told yourself it was just how you were raised, or just your personality, or just overthinking. It was none of those things. That refusal is not common. Fewer people carry it than you imagine. Heaven leans in for that refusal, because it cannot be faked, cannot be performed, and cannot be taught in a single season. It is forged, slowly, in years that feel like they are going nowhere. Those years were not going nowhere, they were going on record. There is a second sign, and this one may sting a little. You feel the pain of other people more sharply than you feel your own. When a friend is suffering, you drop everything. You show up, you listen, you carry what they cannot carry. But when you are the one collapsing, you go quiet. You tell no one. You convince yourself that your pain is a burden nobody should have to deal with, so you deal with it alone. At 2 a.m, in a silence you have gotten far too comfortable inside. The world calls that being strong. Heaven calls it something else. Heaven calls it the mark of a carrier. A carrier is a person built to hold weight for others, and that design is an honor. But somewhere the design got twisted into a lie that says you are only allowed to give help, never to receive it. Later in this message, I am going to show you where that twist came from, because it did not come from God, and it is not staying. The third sign is the strangest one. You cannot make yourself quit. You have tried. Do not pretend you have not. There have been seasons when you sat down and told yourself, that is it. I am done hoping, done praying, done believing that any of this matters. You meant it with your whole chest. And then 2 days later, or 2 hours later, you caught yourself hoping again, like a candle that relights itself in the rain. You thought that was weakness, an inability to face reality. It is the opposite. It is the single most impressive thing in your file. Let me say that with more weight, because I do not think you heard it. Out of everything in your life, out of every achievement and every sacrifice, the thing that made heaven stop and take notice is that your hope has survived conditions that kill hope. Hope is easy to keep in springtime. You kept it through winters that lasted years. There are people who accomplished 10 times what you have accomplished who never once did what you do every single morning, which is to get up inside an unrewarded life and remain soft, remain honest, and remain open. That is not a small thing. In the economy of heaven, that is the whole thing. So now you need a name for what those years actually were. Because once a thing is named, it can never fool you again. We call it the quiet audition. The quiet audition is the season of a chosen life when God removes the audience on purpose. No applause, no visible results, no confirmations. Not because he is cruel, and not because you are being punished, but because there is exactly one thing that can only be revealed on an empty stage. Character performs when it is watched, but essence only shows when the room is empty. God was never interested in your performance. He was after your essence. And essence has a price of admission. The price is obscurity. Think about what this explains. It explains why your hardest seasons came right after your most sincere prayers. You asked to be used, to be trusted with more, to matter. And instead of a promotion, the lights went out. You thought the lights going out was the answer being no. The lights going out was the interview beginning. It explains why people with half your heart seemed to pass you by. They were not being measured on your track. A shallow assignment needs a shallow test. The depth of your testing is not evidence that something is wrong with you. It is evidence of the weight class you are being prepared for. Heavy callings require heavy proofing. The way a bridge that will carry thousands must be stress-tested in ways a garden path never will be. And it explains the timing of this very moment. You did not find this message at the start of your audition. You found it at the end. That is how these messages work. The confirmation is never sent in the middle of the test, because a test with mid-course reassurance stops being a test. The fact that you are hearing these words right now, after everything you have walked through, is not an accident of an afternoon. It is a letter that arrives precisely when the season it describes is closing. Now, I know what a part of you is doing with all of this. A part of you is standing back with crossed arms saying, "This is beautiful, but you do not know me. You do not know what I have failed at. You do not know the moments I broke, the times I was not soft or honest or open, the days I was bitter and jealous and cold. You are certain that if I could see your whole record, the impressive verdict would dissolve. Chosen one, lean in. The record includes those moments, and the verdict stands. Because here is what you fundamentally misunderstand about how you were being evaluated. The audition was never scored on perfection. It was scored on return. Every human being in the record broke. The measure was never whether you fell into bitterness. It was whether you unpacked and lived there. You did not. You visited bitterness, sometimes for months, and then something in you packed up and walked back toward the light, limping, embarrassed, half believing. The walk back is the score, and your walk back count is remarkable. There is a man in the old records whose story is practically your biography, and most people read it completely wrong. A young man with a genuine calling, given real visions of a meaningful future, who then watched his actual life move in the exact opposite direction of everything he had been shown. Thrown into a pit by the very people who should have protected him, sold into servitude in a foreign land. And just when he found a little stability, accused of something he did not do, and locked away in a prison with no release date. Here is the part everyone misses. The record does not say he understood. It does not say he felt seen. It says that in every forgotten place, he kept doing excellent, faithful, quiet work. In the pit, in the servant quarters, in the prison, no audience, no progress, no evidence that any of it was building toward anything. Now, ask yourself why the story bothers to mention his diligence in places where diligence appeared pointless. Because that was the entire point. The pit was not an interruption of his calling. The pit was the audition for it. The man who would one day hold the economy of nations in his hands was being watched in a basement to see if he would remain faithful when faithfulness earned him nothing. You know how that story ends. In a single day, one single day, he went from the prison to the palace. Not because the palace suddenly noticed him, but because the audition was complete and the verdict had been ready for years. The speed of his elevation looked miraculous to everyone around him. It was not speed, it was release. Everything had already been decided in the dark. The day the door opened was simply the day the decision was announced. I need you to sit with that word, announced, because it is about to become personal. Verdicts in heaven are reached in silence, but they are always announced. And announcements have a signature pattern. Before the door physically opens, the person starts receiving confirmations they did not seek. Messages that know too much. A strange stirring of hope that has no logical trigger. A sudden inability to stay numb. If that pattern has been happening to you lately, and I believe it has, then you already know what this message actually is. It is not content. It is correspondence. And that raises the question that the rest of our time together is going to answer. If the audition is over, and the verdict is impressed, Then what exactly was the thing he saw? What was the specific moment, the specific quality that settled it? Because impressed is a strong word. Pleased is gentle. Satisfied is quiet. Impressed means something exceeded expectation. Impressed means even the one who designed you watched you do something with your brokenness. That brokenness was never supposed to allow. I am going to name that thing. But to name it honestly, I first have to show you two more signs of the person heaven watches, and then I have to tell you about the strangest discovery in all of this, the one that involves not your spirit, but your mind. Because when the record says you exceeded expectation, it is partly because of a handicap you have been carrying since childhood that you do not even know about. You ran your race carrying a weight nobody could see. And when I show you what that weight is and how it got there, the word impressed is going to make a very different kind of sense. So let us finish the portrait first, because you deserve to see yourself clearly before I show you what heaven saw. There are 5 signs that mark the kind of person God watches in the dark, and you have already recognized 3 of them in yourself. You keep doing right when no one is watching. You carry the pain of others more faithfully than your own, and your hope refuses to die no matter how many winters you feed it. Here is the 4th sign. You have a strange relationship with almost. Your whole life has been a museum of almost. The opportunity that fell through at the last moment. The relationship that was nearly everything and then was not. The breakthrough that got close enough for you to smell it and then dissolved like mist. Other people get clean yes or clean no. You get almost over and over, as if some invisible hand keeps pulling the prize back an inch before your fingers close around it. You concluded that the almost pattern meant you were cursed, or unlucky, or secretly unworthy in some way you could never quite locate. I want to hand you a different explanation, and I want you to test it against your own memory rather than taking my word for it. Almost is the signature of a hold, not a rejection. When something is denied, it simply never comes near. When something is reserved, it comes close, brushes your life, and then is held back because the appointed moment has not arrived. A rejection has no timing. A reservation is nothing but timing. The repeated nearness of good things to your life was never mockery. It was proximity. What is reserved for you has been circling you for years, waiting for a signal that had nothing to do with your effort and everything to do with your readiness. And the 5th sign is the one that ties all the others together. Despite everything, you still talk to God. Maybe not formally, maybe not on your knees with folded hands. Maybe it is just a sentence thrown at the ceiling at midnight, half prayer and half complaint. Maybe it is a whispered thank you when something small goes right, or a wordless reaching in the middle of grief. The conversation never fully closed. Do you understand how rare that is? After years of unanswered questions, most people hang up. You never did. The line between you and heaven has stayed open through every silence. And on the other end of an open line, someone has been listening to every single word. Now hold all 5 signs in one frame: faithfulness without witnesses, carrying others while hiding your own weight, indestructible hope, a life full of reserved almosts, and an unbroken line to heaven. That is not the profile of a forgotten person. That is the profile of a person under observation. And observation of that intensity always means one thing in the record: preparation for wait. Nobody watches a garden path that closely. Inspectors of that caliber are only sent to bridges meant to carry thousands. Which brings us to the moments themselves, the specific windows when the watching was closest. I call them the witness windows, and when I name them, memories are going to surface. Let them. The first witness window is the betrayal you answered with grace. Someone you trusted, someone whose name just appeared in your mind before I finished the sentence, took your loyalty and paid it back with harm. You had every justification to become a colder person. The world would have applauded the armor. And for a while you were tempted. You drafted the bitter version of yourself in your head. But when the moment came to actually become that person, you could not do it. You stayed warm in a situation engineered to freeze you. Heaven does not skim past moments like that. Heaven slows down for them. In the record of your life, that moment is written in larger letters than any achievement, because armor is common and warmth after wounding is nearly extinct. The second witness window is the giving you did from your own emptiness. There was a season when you had almost nothing left, financially or emotionally or physically, and someone needed help, and you gave it anyway. You gave out of the little rather than the surplus. Nobody knew what that gift actually cost you. You made sure nobody knew, which is precisely why it weighed so much. The world measures generosity by size. Heaven measures it by remainder, by what the giver had left after giving. On that scale, your smallest gifts have been among the largest ever recorded in your family line. The third witness window is the one you have never told anyone about. The night you almost let go. I will not describe it further, because you know the night I mean, and it deserves privacy even here. I will only tell you what the record says about it. It says that, at the lowest point of that night, when letting go of everything would have been easy and holding on made no sense at all, you held on. No one saw it. No one clapped. You woke up the next day and made breakfast and answered messages, as if the most heroic act of your life had not just occurred in complete darkness. Chosen one, hear me. That night is the crown jewel of your file. Battles fought in public make reputations. Battles fought alone make destinies. You have been embarrassed about your hardest night for years. Heaven has been showing it off. If tears are close right now, do not fight them. Something is being acknowledged in you that has waited a very long time for acknowledgement. And when the water settles, type the word "witnessed" in the comments. One word. Let it stand there as a marker that on this day, the hidden things were finally named. Now I need to tell you something that may seem like a detour, but it is not. It is the doorway to the second half of everything I have to say to you. While I was preparing this message, sitting with the pattern of the quiet audition and the witness windows, I kept circling one question I could not put down. How? Not why you endured, but how. Because when you tally what you actually carried, the betrayals, the emptiness, the unwitnessed nights, the years of almost, the mathematics of it stops working. People break under far less. People with more support, more resources, more advantages, fold under half of what you held. And you held it while tired, while doubting, while running on fumes. The endurance in your file is not just admirable, it is technically confusing. It is the kind of anomaly that makes someone reviewing the record stop and say, wait, how did this person do that? I chased that question, and it led me somewhere I did not expect. It led me out of the old records and into something surprisingly modern, something involving how the human mind was designed to work, and what quietly happened to that design in every person born into this modern age, including you. What I found made the word impressed take on a second meaning I had not planned to include in this message. When it clicked, I actually sat back from my desk. Later, at the right moment, I will walk you through the discovery itself, because it is not mine. It belongs to some very serious researchers, and one finding in particular was considered important enough to earn the highest honor science can give. For now, I will only plant the seed of it in one sentence. You endured everything you endured, while a significant portion of your original design was switched off, not your soul. Your soul was fully lit the whole time. Something else. Something the modern world dims in nearly every child by the time they reach adulthood, so gradually that nobody notices the lights going down. You have been mistaking the dimness for your personality. It is not your personality, and the reason heaven finds your endurance so remarkable is that you did it all in the dark twice over, unseen from the outside and underlit from the inside. Hold that seed. Do not let me forget to come back to it, because I promise you, when we open it fully, it is going to reframe Every time you ever called yourself lazy, scattered, or not smart enough. None of those labels were true. Something was true, but it was not those. Let us return to the main road, because there is a question hanging over everything we have said, and until it is answered, some part of you will keep its arms crossed. The question is this: if God saw all of it, if he was present in every witness window, leaning in, taking record, impressed, then why did he not say anything? Why the silence? Why let you walk years believing you were invisible when a single whisper of confirmation would have changed everything? What kind of love watches someone struggle and stays quiet? I am not going to give you a shallow answer to that. Shallow answers to that question have driven more people away from faith than any argument ever has. The real answer has 3 layers, and the third layer is the one nobody preaches, the one that involves what your endurance was actually producing while you thought nothing was happening. Because here is the truth: the silence was protecting. Something was being built in you during those years. Something that can only be built in unwitnessed conditions. The way certain crystals can only form in total darkness and shatter if the cave is opened too soon. In the next few minutes, I am going to show you what was being built, why the silence was the scaffolding around it, and why the timing of this exact season, the season you are in right now as you listen to this, is the moment the scaffolding starts coming down. So why the silence? Let us take it apart layer by layer, honestly, the way it deserves. The first layer is the one you may have heard before, but hear it again with new ears. Silence is the condition of a genuine test. A teacher who whispers answers during the exam has not given an exam. If God had leaned down in the middle of your hardest year and said, "Well done, keep going, you are passing," then your endurance from that moment forward would have been powered by the encouragement, not by what actually lives in you. The point of the quiet audition was to discover and to prove to every watching realm what you are made of when you are given absolutely nothing to run on. You proved it. But proof requires the silence to be total. The moment the silence would have broken, the proof would have stopped forming. The second layer is harder and more tender. The silence was not only a test condition, it was a protection. Think about what early applause does to unfinished people. Think of every story you know, of someone who got recognition before they got character, who was handed a stage before their foundation had set. The gift became the trap. The very thing they prayed for became the instrument of their unraveling. God watched you pray for visibility during years when visibility would have quietly destroyed you, and he loved you too much to answer early. Some of his greatest mercies in your life have been the prayers he refused to rush. You were not being denied. You were being finished. And now the third layer, the one nobody preaches. During all those silent years, something was being manufactured in you that can only be manufactured in the dark. I want to name it precisely: unborrowed identity. Most people are held together by reflections. They know who they are because other people keep telling them. Their confidence is a loan from applause, and the day the applause stops, the loan is called in, and the whole structure collapses. You were denied the loan. For years you had to answer the question of who you are, with no mirrors, no feedback, no verdicts from outside. So you did something almost no one alive gets to do. You built an identity out of raw material, in the dark, by hand. Tested, not asserted. Forged, not borrowed. That is what the silence was scaffolding around. And here is why heaven considers it treasure. A borrowed identity can only be trusted with borrowed things, but a person who knows who they are when nobody confirms it, that person can be trusted with weight that would crush a performer. The assignments that are reserved for your future require exactly the kind of self that only your kind of past could build. The years did not delay your destiny. The years built the only version of you capable of surviving it. There is a boy in the old records who shows this pattern so clearly it almost feels unfair. The youngest of 8 brothers assigned to the family flocks, which in his world meant a sign to invisibility. Days and nights alone in fields with animals who could not applaud, and predators who could not be impressed. While his brothers stood in formation looking like the future, he was in the wilderness doing faithful work for an audience of sheep. And then one day, a prophet arrives at the family house with oil in his horn and an announcement that one son of this family has been chosen for a throne. 7 impressive brothers pass before him. 7 times the prophet feels the answer is no. And then comes the question that should undo you. Is there not another? They had literally forgotten him. The chosen one was so unseen that his own father did not include him in the lineup for the word chosen. They had to send for him. He walked in smelling of fields and obscurity, and the oil was poured on his head in front of the brothers who had never once considered him a candidate. But do not miss the detail that matters most. The record says, the choosing had already happened before the prophet ever arrived. While the boy was in the fields, unseen, singing to an audience of none, defending lambs in fights nobody would ever hear about. Heaven was watching, and the decision was being made. The anointing oil did not make him chosen. It announced what the wilderness had already settled. His hidden faithfulness was the resume. The fields were the interview. The forgetting by his own family was not an obstacle to his crown. It was the precondition for it, because the throne he was being prepared for required a man whose sense of self could survive years when even his father overlooked him. Chosen one, if your own family has overlooked you, if the people closest to you have never once considered you a candidate for greatness, you are not disqualified. You are in the most documented pattern heaven has. The forgotten field is where thrones are decided. Now, if what was built in you during the silence is unborrowed identity, then a question follows, and it is the question this whole message has been circling. What exactly was the moment that settled your audition? What did he see? I told you at the beginning that it was smaller than you think. It is time to name it. It was not the biggest sacrifice you ever made. It was not the most dramatic night of your life. The moment that settled your file was one you have almost certainly never thought about twice. It was a moment when you chose, at full price, with no witnesses and no benefit, to remain who you are. Somebody made it costly to be kind, and you were kind anyway. Somebody made it foolish to be honest, and you were honest anyway. Somebody made it unrewarding to be faithful, and you showed up anyway, one more time, in a way so ordinary that you filed it under nothing and moved on. We call moments like that the full price moment. The moment when goodness costs everything and pays nothing, and a person pays it anyway, unaware that anyone is at the register watching. You have had many of those. But there was one, and I believe as you hear this, a specific memory is trying to surface, where the cost was complete and your choice was instant. You did not deliberate. You did not weigh it. You just were who you are, at full price. And in that instant, the record tells us, heaven did not simply approve. Heaven was moved. Because that is the one thing omniscience chooses to be surprised by. The beauty of a free choice that costs everything and asks for nothing. Let that recast your entire catalogue of suffering. Every season you labeled wasted was a stage for full-price moments. Every unfair situation was an arena where your unborrowed identity got another rivet. Every time life made goodness expensive, you were unknowingly building the very file that now reads impressed. Nothing was wasted. I need you to breathe that in, slowly. Nothing was wasted. In fact, take this moment to actually breathe. We have covered ground that took some people decades of counseling to cover. Let your shoulders drop away from your ears. Unclench your jaw. Let the next breath go all the way down. There is no rush here. The message will wait for you. Good. Now let me show you what the other side of the audition looks like. Because a past test is not just a compliment. It is a doorway into a different season, and that season has features you need to recognize as they arrive. Picture the coming months, not as fantasy but as trajectory. The first feature of the scene season is convergence. Those almosts we talked about, the reserved things that have circled your life for years, begin to land. Not all at once, not with fireworks, but with a strange smoothness, as if some resistance that always lived between you and completion has been removed. A conversation goes further than conversations used to go. A door that would have closed stays open an extra beat, and you walk through it. People who overlooked you begin, without knowing why, to turn toward you. You will notice the change before you can explain it. The second feature is recovered voice. Words you have swallowed for years start finding their way out, calm and weighted, and people listen in a way they did not before. Not because you got louder, because a person with unborrowed identity speaks differently, and the room can feel it. And the third feature, the one that will move you to tears the first time you notice it, is that the hiding instinct begins to dissolve. The reflex that made you shrink, deflect compliments, and stand at the edge of your own life starts to feel unnecessary, like a winter coat in spring. You will catch yourself taking up space and not apologizing for it. That is what being seen does to a soul, when the seeing comes from heaven first. If some part of you is already reaching for that season, mark it. Type the words "I receive it" below, 4 simple words, and let them be your signature on this page of the record. Signatures matter. The difference between hearing a promise and receiving one is that receiving requires an act, however small, and heaven has always honored small acts, loaded with real intent. Your comment is not for the algorithm of men. It is a stone of remembrance. You will scroll past one day, months from now, and realize you set it down on the exact day everything quietly turned. And now I have to keep a promise I made to you earlier, because everything we have said so far answers what he saw and why he stayed silent. But it does not answer the question that started this entire second act, the one I could not put down. How did you endure it? What was the anomaly the record keeps flagging? It is time to open the seed I planted, the discovery about your mind, the reason your endurance confuses even the mathematics of heaven, and the reason the word impressed carries a second meaning in your case. What I am about to tell you was hiding in plain sight in a laboratory finding from decades ago, and it concerns something that was taken from you so early and so quietly that you have never even thought to grieve it. To understand what was taken from you, we have to go back to the beginning of you, not your spiritual beginning, your earliest remembered mornings. I want you to reach back to the child you were before the world got its hands on you. Watch that child for a moment. Notice something about how they moved through a day. That child woke up interested. Ideas arrived without effort. Questions poured out faster than adults could answer them. And imagination was not an activity. It was the default setting. That child could turn a cardboard box into a kingdom, could ask one question about the stars and follow it for an hour, could feel a song in the chest, and not just in the ears. Learning was not work. Creating was not work. Wonder was the resting state. You remember this, even if only in fragments. There was a voltage to being alive that you have spent your whole adult life quietly missing without ever saying it out loud. Here is what you were never told. That voltage was not childish innocence. It was capacity. Researchers who study creative ability ran a famous long-term study on young children and found that at the earliest ages, an astonishing portion of them, close to all of them, scored at what the study classified as genius level in creative thinking. Not a few gifted ones, nearly all. Wonder, connection-making, flexible thought at the highest measurable level. Standard equipment on almost every child, which means the child version of you was not unusually bright for a child. The child version of you was operating the way a human mind is designed to operate. Then the study did something devastating. It followed those same children as they grew, and with every stage of growing up inside the modern world, The number holding onto that level collapsed. By the teenage years, a fraction remained. By adulthood, the portion still operating at their original creative capacity was so small it rounds toward 1 in 1,000. Read that pattern again. It is not that a few special people gained genius, it is that nearly everyone had it. And the modern world took it away, methodically, year by year, and called the process normal. Nobody held a ceremony for what you lost. There was no diagnosis, no moment of theft you could point to, just a slow dimming. School rewarded the one right answer and quietly punished the 10 interesting ones. Screens learned to do your imagining for you. Stress taught your mind to survive instead of wonder. Noise replaced silence, hurry replaced depth, and by the time you were grown, the kingdom building, star chasing, song feeling part of you had gone so quiet that you forgot it had ever been loud. And because the dimming happened to almost everyone around you at the same rate, nobody noticed anything missing. The lights went down on an entire generation so slowly that darkness started to look like daylight. We need a name for the condition you have been living in, because you have been living in it for decades without a word for it. Call it the half-lit mind. A mind still fully capable underneath, with its original wiring intact, but running with most of its rooms dark, not damaged, dimmed. There is an enormous difference, and that difference is about to become the most hopeful fact you have heard in years. Damage must be repaired slowly, if it can be repaired at all. Dimming only needs the switch found. But before we go anywhere near switches, I want you to see what the half-lit mind has been costing you, because you have been paying its bill every single day and blaming yourself for the balance. Have you ever sat down to focus on something that matters and felt your attention slide off it like a hand off wet glass? You called that being scattered. Have you ever known, with total certainty, that you are capable of far more than your life currently shows, while being completely unable to close the gap between what you sense inside and what you produce outside? You called that failing. Have you ever heard about an idea and thought, I thought of that years ago, I felt that first. Why could they build it and I could not? You called that being unlucky, or undisciplined, or too late. Chosen one, none of those names are correct. A half-lit mind produces exactly those symptoms. The certainty of capacity is real. Because the capacity is real, it is sitting in the dark rooms. The frustration of the gap is real, because you are trying to run designs that need the whole house, using only the lit hallway. You have been a full orchestra, attempting every symphony with one section awake, and then lying awake at night wondering why the music sounds thinner than what you hear inside your chest. The music inside your chest was never a delusion. It was a memo from the dark rooms, reminding you what is still in there. And this is where the two halves of this entire message suddenly join. So listen closely, because this is the sentence I sat back from my desk over. Everything heaven watched you do, every witness window, every full-price moment, every year of faithfulness in the quiet audition, you did all of it with a half-lit mind. Think about what that means in the record. Other generations endured hardship with their full original equipment. You endured yours dimmed. You kept hope alive without the full machinery that generates fresh vision. You solved impossible seasons without access to the full connection-making power you were born with. You created beauty, held families together, carried other people, built a life, using a fraction of your design, and you never once used the dimming as an excuse because you did not even know it had happened. It is one thing to finish a race. It is another to finish it and then discover you ran the entire distance with weights sewn into your clothes that someone put there when you were 7. That is the second meaning of impressed. Heaven was not only moved by your character. Heaven watched you carry a stolen inheritance uphill for decades without complaint. And the record does not read poor thing. The record reads, look at what this one did with half. Which raises the question that should be rising in you right now. somewhere between anger and hope. If the capacity is intact, if the rooms are dark but not destroyed, if the child who built kingdoms is still in there, then what turns the lights back on? Is the dimming a life sentence, or is it reversible? And if it is reversible, why has nobody talked about this? Why is there not a known way back? Hold that question. Do not let it go, because it has an answer, and the answer is not a metaphor. It came out of one of the most celebrated laboratory discoveries of the last century, a finding considered so important that the man behind it received the highest recognition science can offer. It concerns a specific, physical feature of how your mind was built, the feature the modern world interferes with, and the reason every honest attempt you have made to fix yourself, the discipline, the routines, the pushing harder, has produced so much less than it should have. You have been trying to relight the house by yelling at the hallway. The switch is somewhere else entirely. We are almost there. But first, there is one more thing you need to know about the timing of all this, because timing is never an accident in a chosen life. You did not hear about the half-lit mind 10 years ago, and you are not hearing about it 10 years from now. You are hearing about it in the exact season when the quiet audition has closed and the verdict has come back impressed. That is not coincidence. That is sequence. Restoration is never handed to a person mid-test. It is handed to a person the test has finished proving. The reason this information found you now is the same reason the prophet arrived at the family house only after the fields had done their work. The preparation is complete. What comes next is not another test. What comes next is equipment for the assignment. Before we go to the discovery itself, I want to slow down and walk through a single ordinary day of the half-lit life, because you have been living this day for years without ever seeing it from the outside, and some things can only be released after they have been witnessed. Today, let it be witnessed. The day begins with the alarm, and before your eyes are fully open, the fog is already there. That thin grey film between you and the morning. You do not call it fog. You call it just waking up, because you cannot remember mornings without it. The first minutes belong to the phone, and by the time you put it down, 40 other minds have already been in your mind, arranging its furniture, spending its first and freshest voltage on things that have nothing to do with your assignment. The lit hallway of your mind, the part that still works, comes online and immediately starts serving everyone but you. At work, whatever your work is, you perform competence. And you are competent, sometimes impressively so, because decades of running on half power taught you efficiencies that full-powered people never needed to learn. But notice what the competence costs. Every task requires a summoning. Focus does not pool naturally. It has to be hauled, bucket by bucket, from a well that sits far away. By early afternoon, the hauling exhausts you, and the exhaustion produces the secret shame of the capable, the knowledge that what took you enormous effort looks, from outside, like a normal day of work. Nobody applauds effort they cannot see. You have been running marathons inside quiet rooms your whole adult life, and then wondering, on the drive home, why you are so tired when you did so little. And through the whole day, at the edges, the flickers. You know the flickers. The half-formed idea that surfaces in the shower or at a red light, bright and promising, gone by the time you could write it down. The connection between two things that almost closes and does not. The sentence for the thing you want to build that assembles itself for one shining second and then dissolves like a wave losing its shape. The flickers are the dark rooms knocking. They have been knocking for years. You hear them best when the noise drops, which is exactly why the modern world makes sure the noise never drops. The evening is the quiet tragedy, because the evening is when the real you, the assignment carrying you, is supposed to get the mind back. And what arrives home instead is a spent hallway. You sit down, intending the book, the plan, the project, the prayer, and the machinery simply will not turn over. So the screen goes on, not because you love it, but because it asks nothing. and 3 hours dissolve, and you go to bed with that specific heaviness that is not quite guilt and not quite grief, but a blend the half-lit carry every night, the sense of another day subtracted from a finite number of days, with the real thing untouched again, and the last thought before sleep, the one you would never say at a dinner party, rises on schedule. Is this really all I am? I was so sure there was more. Chosen one, I need you to hear the answer to that bedtime question, spoken plainly, once and for all. There was more. There is more. The more was never a delusion of grandeur. It was an accurate sensing of the dark rooms, transmitted nightly by a soul that refused to accept the hallway as the whole house. Your dissatisfaction has been the most honest instrument in your life. It has never once lied to you. Every night it told you the same true thing. This is not the whole of you. And every morning the fog rolled in and you forgot, and the world patted you on the head and called your dissatisfaction ingratitude. It was not ingratitude. It was inventory. Something in you kept counting rooms the hallway could not see. Now, here is why walking through this ordinary day matters so much, beyond the relief of being witnessed, because I want you to notice who was present through every hour of it. The fog at dawn. He watched you get up inside it anyway. The invisible marathons at work. He counted every bucket you hauled. The flickers. He knows their full contents. Every idea you almost had. Every connection that almost closed. They are not lost. They are on file, waiting for machinery capable of receiving them in full. The spent evenings. He sat with you in them without disgust. And the bedtime question, is this all I am? He has heard you ask it hundreds of times, and every single time, the answer in the record was the same 2 words. Not remotely. There is a particular tenderness reserved in heaven for people who keep showing up to a life that fits them like a coat, 3 sizes too small, without becoming bitter, without going numb, without making everyone around them pay for the pinch. That tenderness has your name on it. The half-lit day you just relived with me was never evidence of your smallness. It was the daily stage of a quiet magnificence, a full-sized soul serving faithfully inside a reduced capacity, like royalty scrubbing floors without complaint, and heaven has watched the scrubbing for years with a lump in its throat, waiting for the day it could hand back the crown machinery. That day is on the calendar now. You are inside its approach. So when the bedtime question comes tonight, and it may, out of pure habit, you will answer it differently for the first time. Not with the old ache, but with information. This is not all I am. The rest of me is intact, in the dark rooms, inventoried and waiting, and the lights are coming on. Say it that way tonight. Habits of grief take a few nights to unlearn, but they unlearn fast once the truth is in the room. And now, with the day witnessed and the ache named, you are ready to hear about the failed roads and the real one, because you finally know exactly what the roads are supposed to lead back to. Before I show you the discovery, I need to clear away the rubble of every failed attempt you have already made, because those failures have been quietly testifying against you in your own mind, and their testimony is false. You have tried to fix yourself. Do not act like you have not. There were the seasons of discipline, the early mornings, the planners, the routines that lasted 11 days. There were the books, the podcasts, the advice you collected like medicine you kept forgetting to take. Maybe there was meditation you could never sit still for, or journaling that turned into 3 entries and an empty notebook, or courses purchased at midnight in a burst of hope and abandoned by the weekend. And after each attempt collapsed, the same verdict landed in your chest. See, you always do this. You never follow through. Something is wrong with you. Chosen one, I want to file an objection against that verdict, and I want you to hear the grounds. Every single one of those methods asked your mind for effort, more focus, more willpower, more pushing. But the half-lit mind does not have an effort problem. It has an access problem. Willpower lives in the lit hallway, and the hallway was already doing triple duty, asking a dimmed mind To discipline its way back to brightness is like asking a man to lift the crate he is standing inside of. The failure was never evidence about your character. It was evidence about the method. Wrong tool, not weak hands. And once you see that, a decade of self-accusation starts to dissolve. The unfinished projects were not laziness. The scattered attention was not carelessness. The gap between your inner certainty and your outer results was not delusion. They were all the predictable output of a mind running on a fraction of its design, pushed by a soul that refused to lower its expectations to match the dimming. Honestly, the friction you have lived with, that constant low-grade frustration of being more than you can express, is itself proof of size. Small souls fit comfortably in small capacity. You never fit. The pinch you have felt your entire adult life is the pinch of a large calling wearing a small mind, and the calling never stopped straining the seams. So stop apologizing for the strain. And stop, right now, rereading your history through the lens of failure. Reread it through the lens we just built together. A person with a stolen inheritance, unaware of the theft, holding themselves to the standard of the full inheritance anyway, and getting closer to it than anyone had a right to expect. That is not a failure story. That is the most quietly heroic pattern a life can run. Now, the discovery. In the middle of the last century, a researcher began studying patients whose two hemispheres, the two great halves of the human mind, had been surgically separated for medical reasons. What he found rewrote the textbooks. The two halves are not redundant copies. They are two different geniuses. One half specializes in language, sequence, logic, the step-by-step. The other holds pattern, imagery, music, intuition, the all at once. Two instruments, designed to play together, and the research showed something more. The magic of human thought, the leaps, the insights, the creative fire, happens not in either half alone, but in the conversation between them. The finding was judged so foundational that it earned the highest honor in science. And it quietly explains everything we have been talking about. Because here is what that research implies for you. The child you were, the kingdom builder, was running both halves in constant conversation. That was the voltage. And the modern world, without meaning to conspire, built an entire way of life that speaks almost exclusively to one half. The schooling, the screens, the deadlines, the noise, all of it exercises the sequential half and starves the conversation. Year after year, the bridge between your two geniuses fell quiet. Not severed like those patients, just silent, underused, dimmed. The half-lit mind is not a poetic image. It is a fairly literal description of a mind whose two halves have stopped talking the way they were designed to. And that is why every effort-based fix failed. Effort shouts at one half of the mind. The problem was never in either half. The problem was the silence between them. You cannot willpower a conversation into existence. You can only create the conditions where the two sides start speaking again, and when they do, the research is clear about what returns. The connection making, the insight, the sense of flow where hard things become smooth, the feeling, which you remember from childhood without knowing you remember it, of your whole self showing up to the same moment at the same time. I want you to imagine that restored, not as fantasy, but as forecast. Imagine sitting down to the work that matters and feeling your attention hold, not because you are forcing it, but because both halves are finally interested in the same thing at the same time. Imagine problems that have circled your life for years suddenly showing their seams, the way a knot shows its loose end to patient fingers. Imagine the return of ideas, your own ideas, arriving unannounced in the shower and on walks, the way they used to before the world went quiet in there. Imagine having the capacity to actually build what your spirit has been shown. Because that is the point where this stops being interesting science and becomes spiritually urgent. You are carrying assignments. We established this. The audition is over and the wait is coming. And wait requires capacity. The kindest thing that could happen to you in this exact season is not another promise, not another prophecy, not another wave of encouragement. It is the restoration of the equipment the assignments were designed for. Heaven watched you carry half a mind through the entire audition. Heaven does not intend for you to carry half a mind into the assignment. I can hear the skeptic in you, and I honor that skeptic, because it has protected you from a world full of empty promises. The skeptic says, fine, the science is real, the hemispheres are real, the dimming is real, but people do not just relight. Show me the mechanism. And the veteran in you, the one who has tried everything, adds quietly, and do not tell me to breathe in patterns for 20 minutes a day or sit on a cushion for 6 months, because I have been to those wars and I have the receipts of nothing. Both voices are right, and both are about to be answered, because when I went looking for how the two halves get their conversation back, I found that the serious answers have existed for a while, and they are mostly terrible in practice. There is a breathing technique studied for exactly this that requires 20 focused minutes every day and is brutally hard to sustain. There are clinical machines that retrain the mind in specialized offices at hundreds of dollars an hour, thousands to bring home. Real science, real results, and realistically, out of reach for a normal life. For a long time, that was the whole landscape. The bridge could be rebuilt, but only by the wealthy or the superhuman. And then a neurologist in New York, a man whose day job is studying how minds heal, became convinced there had to be a simpler road. Not another discipline for the lit hallway. Something that could reach the dark rooms directly, passively, without asking an exhausted person for one more ounce of effort. What he and his colleagues eventually built is the reason this message has a second half. And I will tell you exactly what it is in a few minutes. But I am not going to introduce it the way the world introduces things, with volume and hype. I am going to introduce it the way it deserves, after we settle what all of this means for your spirit first. Because if you only hear the science, you will file this under interesting and lose it by tomorrow. And this is not allowed to be lost. Not this time. Not in this season. There is a promise buried in the old records that most people quote wrong. It is spoken to people who had lost harvests, years of them, eaten away by forces they could not control. And the voice of God does not say, I will explain the years. It does not say, I will compensate you eventually. It says something structurally shocking. I will restore to you the years, not the lessons of the years themselves. As if time devoured can be handed back, as if seasons the locusts took can return with their fruit intact and multiplied. For most of your life, you probably read that as poetry. I want you to read it now as policy, because you are sitting inside the most literal version of it imaginable. Decades of dimmed capacity, years when your full mind was eaten out from under you by a world that did not even notice it was chewing, and a God who watched every one of those years, kept record of every full-price moment you paid at half power, and holds a stated policy of restoration. The question was never whether he restores. The question was only ever the order of operations. Character first, equipment second. The audition had to finish before the inheritance could be returned, or the inheritance would have interrupted the audition. So, let me paint what returned years actually look like, because vision is not decoration. Vision is load-bearing. Without a picture, restoration stays an idea. With a picture, it becomes a direction. It is a Tuesday morning some months from now. You wake, and something is different, and it takes you a moment to name it. The static is gone. That low hum of dread and fog you stopped noticing because it was always there, absent. You sit with your coffee and an idea arrives, whole, the way ideas came when you were small. And instead of watching it drift past like you have for 20 years, you feel your mind close around it, turn it, see its parts. By that afternoon you have done something about it. Not planned to do something, done something. And as you lie down that night, you notice the strangest feeling. You are not disappointed in yourself. The gap between the person inside and the person outside did not open today. That silence where the self-criticism used to live, that is what restoration sounds like. Now stretch the picture further. The work you were called to, the thing you have sensed since childhood you were supposed to build or write or lead or heal. Imagine approaching it with both halves of your mind in conversation. The vision half supplying the pictures, the sequence half laying the bricks, neither one abandoned mid-project. Imagine being in a room where a problem is being discussed and watching yourself see through it, cleanly, 3 steps ahead, and realizing the people around you are turning toward you the way rooms turn toward clarity. Imagine your family watching you become lighter, not because life got easier, but because you finally have the machinery your load was sized for. Your children, the people who look up to you, learning what a restored person looks like at close range and quietly recalibrating what they believe is possible for themselves. That last image matters more than all the others, because the half-lit mind is generational. It was done to your parents, who could not name it, and it is being done right now to the children coming up after you, faster and harder than it was done to you. Somebody in the line has to be the one who gets the lights back on and shows the others the switch exists. In your line, chosen one, that somebody has a name, and you have been hearing it your whole life every time you looked in a mirror. If something in your chest just stood up, mark this moment. Type the words "I am ready" below. 3 words, and mean them. Not ready because you feel ready. Ready the way soil is ready after winter, not because the soil did anything this morning, but because the season did its work. 18 years or 8 years or 50 years of audition did the work. The readiness is already in you. The comment is just you signing for the delivery. And now let your shoulders down again for a moment, because I want to do something quiet with you before we go on. No imagining required for this one. Just attention. Notice your body, right where it is. Notice the points where it touches the chair, or the bed, or the floor. Notice the weight of your hands, wherever they rest. Somewhere in your body right now there is a place that feels heavier than the rest, a place where you store the pressing down of years. Just find it. You do not have to fix it. Attention is enough. Rest your awareness on that heavy place, the way you would rest a hand on the shoulder of a tired friend. Stay there through one full, slow breath. That place has been holding what the half-lit mind could not process. It has been faithful too. It also gets restored. Good. Stay soft like that, because the next thing I have to address is delicate. There are 3 voices in you that will try to steal everything we have built in the last hour, and I intend to answer each one before it speaks, so that when it speaks later tonight, you will recognize it and smile. The first voice says, "This is all lovely, but you do not know my particular brokenness. Other people get restored. I am the exception." Chosen one, listen. The exception story is the oldest counterfeit in the record. Every single person the record shows being restored believed they were the exception right up until the restoration. The man in the pit was sure the pit was final. The boy in the field was so exceptional in his forgottenness that his own father left him off the list. Exception is not evidence. Exception is a symptom, and it is a symptom of exactly the condition we have spent this message diagnosing. A half-lit mind literally cannot picture its own restoration. The pictures are made in the dark rooms. Of course, you cannot see it yet. The seeing comes back with the lights. The second voice says, "It is too late, too many years gone. Whatever window existed for me closed, somewhere in my 30s or 40s or beyond." To that voice, I offer one man, 80 years old, standing in front of a burning bush, being handed the largest assignment in the ancient world. After 4 decades of tending sheep in a wilderness, he thought was his retirement. The record goes out of its way, again and again, to hand its biggest work to people the calendar had dismissed. In the economy of heaven, late is a superstition. The years the locusts ate are not subtracted from your span. They are owed to it. And the third voice is the quietest and the most dangerous. It says, "Maybe this is all true, but I do not deserve it. After everything I have done, everything I have thought, the coldness, the envy, the doubt, the mess I know myself to be, restoration belongs to cleaner people. Hear me with your whole chest." The verdict of this entire message was never that you are impressive because you are clean. The verdict is that you are loved while unclean, watched while doubting, chosen while messy, and found faithful anyway. Deserving was never the currency. It was always response. And your response, across decades of dark, is the very thing the record calls impressive. The door in front of you does not have a scale outside it, weighing your worthiness. It has your name on it, spelled correctly, written before you did any of the things you are ashamed of. Before we gather the threads, I want to tell you about someone. Not a figure from the ancient records this time. A woman alive right now, whose story reached me through this community, and who gave permission for it to be told without her name, which, given everything we have said about unwitnessed faithfulness, feels almost poetically right. Call her a sister in the file. Her story is recent, it is ordinary in all the ways that matter, and it is proof that the pattern we have been tracing is not theology on paper. It is currently operational. She was in her 50s when her audition reached its darkest stretch. A marriage that had quietly ended in every way but paperwork, years before it ended in fact. A career spent making other people look capable, while her own name stayed off every door. And a faith that had gone from fire to ember to something she carried more out of loyalty than expectation. The way you keep wearing a ring after the meaning has gone quiet. Her prayers by then were one sentence long. Most nights, just, "Are you still there?" No answer came that she could hear. She kept praying it anyway. Remember that detail. The line stayed open. The collapse came, the way collapses do, several at once. The marriage finally ended, in fact. The position she had served faithfully was restructured out from under her, a decade of loyalty converted into a cardboard box and a short goodbye. And within the same season, her mother, the one person who had truly seen her, passed. Any one of those breaks a year. She got all three in 8 months. And here is where her story earns its place in this message. Because nobody watching her from outside saw anything remarkable. They saw a tired woman surviving. But look at what the file saw. The file saw her spend evenings she could have drowned in bitterness, helping her elderly neighbor with paperwork, because the neighbor had no one else. The file saw her write encouraging notes to former colleagues who had kept their jobs while she lost hers, and mean every word. The file saw her, on the worst night, the night after the funeral, sit at the kitchen table with the old question, "Does any of it matter?" sitting across from her like a guest who would not leave. And the file recorded that she got up the next morning and made breakfast and returned a phone call to someone who needed her. You know that move. You have made that move. It looks like nothing. It is the whole exam. Months later, in the flat grey after season, she came across a message not unlike this one, and she reacted the way you may be reacting right now, with one hand on her heart and one eyebrow raised, because she was moved and suspicious in equal measure, and decades of disappointment had taught her to lead with the eyebrow. But two things in it would not let her go. The description of the quiet audition, which read like surveillance footage of her own life, and the part about the dimmed mind, because she remembered, suddenly and painfully, the girl she had been at 9 years old, the one who wrote plays for the neighborhood kids and organized entire imaginary worlds. And she realized she had not had an idea that felt like her own in 20 years, and she had never once thought to ask where the ideas went. So she did the small things, not dramatically, skeptically even. She started guarding one morning hour. She took up the instrument you will hear about later, with the same eyebrow still raised, deciding the guarantee made the risk exactly zero, and her exhaustion made the effort exactly nothing, which was all she had to give. And she kept a record, mostly, she admits, to have evidence against the whole thing when it failed. The record did not cooperate with her skepticism. Week 2. She wrote 3 words. The static is thinner. Week 4. She filled 2 pages, because ideas had started arriving, small ones first, a better way to organize a friend business, a paragraph of something that wanted to be written. Week 7. She wrote 1 line that she says she stared at for a long time after writing it. I feel like someone is turning the lights on in a house I forgot I owned. And into that relit house, the season came the way we said seasons come. The almosts began to land. A consulting arrangement materialized from a relationship she had faithfully tended for years, with no return. The paragraph became pages. The pages became a small book, about surviving loss without going cold. And the book, written by a woman with no platform and no name recognition, found its way to exactly the tired people it was written for, because things built by faithful witnesses have a way of locating their courtrooms. She is in her late 50s now. She will tell you, cheerfully, that she is not famous, not wealthy, and not finished. That is not the miracle. The miracle, she says, is the mornings. She wakes clear. She works whole. The gap between who she sensed she was and how her days actually feel has closed to a sliver. And the sentence she uses for all of it is the one I most want you to carry out of her story. It was never too late, she says. It was exactly on time. Everything before was the audition, and I passed it at half power. And heaven gave me back the rest for the encore. I tell you her story for one reason. Somewhere in these 2 hours, a voice in you has been whispering that all of this is beautiful for other people. She was other people. She had your eyebrow, your exhaustion, your kitchen table question, your decades of evidence that nothing changes. And the pattern picked her up anyway, gently, on schedule, the moment the audition closed, and she stopped arguing with the instruments of her own restoration. The pattern is not fussy about age, resume, or the quality of your current faith. It requires only what you have already given it, a past audition and an open line, which means her story is not an exception you get to admire from a distance. It is a preview you are standing inside of. Now, let us gather the threads. There is one more territory we need to walk before I gather all the threads, and it may be the most intimate one in this entire message. We need to talk about what happens between you and God now, because a person who has spent decades relating to heaven from inside an audition does not automatically know how to relate to heaven after the verdict. The habits of the courtroom follow people into the family room, and if we do not name those habits tonight, you will carry them into the new season and wonder why the season feels strangely like the old one. Think about how you have prayed for most of your life. Be honest, because this is the room for it. Underneath the words, most of your prayers have carried a single silent question. And the question was, am I doing this right? You prayed like a person checking their work. You confessed like a person renewing a lease they were afraid had expired. Even your gratitude had a slight performance in it, an awareness of being evaluated, the spiritual posture of a student who never knows the grade until the end of term. Your entire prayer life has been conducted, standing up, formally, in the courtroom, and no one ever told you the case had closed. So hear it now, formally, from the record itself. The case is closed. The evaluation phase of your walk with God ended when the verdict landed, and the verdict was not adequate, not acceptable, not passed on review. The verdict was impressed, which means the next era of your prayer life happens in a different room entirely, and the difference between the 2 rooms will change everything about how heaven feels to you. In the courtroom, you speak carefully. In the family room, you speak freely. In the courtroom, silence from the bench is ominous. In the family room, silence is just two people who trust each other, sharing a quiet evening. In the courtroom, you bring evidence. In the family room, you bring yourself, unargued, unpolished, in the spiritual equivalent of old clothes. Chosen one, you have been permitted into the family room for years, and you kept standing in the doorway with your court documents, waiting to be cross-examined. Put the documents down. The door you are being invited through is not another hearing. It is a homecoming. Let me make this practical, because new rooms require new habits, and I want to give you 3 prayers for the new season. Not formulas, postures. Learn them, and the season will open, the way rooms open, to people who know they belong in them. The first is the prayer of report. This is the prayer of a trusted worker to a trusted employer. The evening walkthrough of what happened today. You simply tell him about it. The idea that arrived. The conversation that went sideways. The small win, the small fear, the thing that made you laugh. No agenda, no requests, no examination of conscience, just the day. Narrated to someone who was there anyway, but loves hearing your version. People who pray the prayer of report discover something that transforms them slowly, which is that they were never as alone as their loneliness claimed. The witness gets a witness. It is the single most healing habit I know for people with your file. The second is the prayer of receiving. This one will be harder for you, giver that you are. It has almost no words. You sit, open your hands the way you opened them earlier tonight, and you say, only, I am here to receive whatever you want to give today. And then, this is the hard part, you stay there and let yourself be loved, without doing anything to deserve it in real time. 2 minutes, 5, on a brave day. Your whole architecture will itch to make it productive, to turn it into intercession or planning or self-examination. Do not let it. The audition built magnificent muscles of giving and endurance in you, and it left the receiving muscles almost unused. This prayer is their gymnasium, and everything the coming season wants to hand you depends on their strength. And the third is the prayer of partnership. This is the new one, the one that only becomes available after a verdict. It sounds like this. What are we building next? Notice the pronoun. Not, what should I do? The anxious courtroom question of a person seeking approval for a plan. What are we building? The family room question of a junior partner who knows their standing and expects to be included in the drawings. You have never dared pray like a partner. It felt presumptuous, like promotion beyond your station. But impressed is a promotion, and refusing a promotion out of false humility does not honor the one who granted it. It quietly insults their judgment. He did not spend decades forging an unborrowed identity in you, so that you would keep approaching him like a temp worker, afraid of the supervisor. Partners, lean over the table. Lean over the table. Now, I can feel the old guard in you, stirring at all this, whispering that this sounds dangerously comfortable, that reverence requires the courtroom, that if you relax your spiritual vigilance, you will drift. So let me speak to that guard directly, because it has served you long and deserves an honest answer, not a dismissal. Reverence does not live in fear of evaluation. It never did. The deepest reverence on record belongs to people who were fully at home with God, the friend of God pleading familiarly for a city, the man after his own heart dancing without dignity, the disciple leaning on him at supper like furniture. Familiarity did not dilute their awe. It fed it. Because the closer you stand to something vast, the vaster it looks. And terror keeps people at a distance where the vastness stays theoretical. The courtroom made you careful. The family room will make you astonished. Of the two, astonishment is by far the more reverent address. And there is something else waiting for you in the family room, something I want you to be ready for because it undoes people in the best way when it catches them unprepared. In the courtroom, you only ever heard verdicts about your behavior. In the family room, sooner or later, in some unguarded moment of the prayer of receiving, You are going to catch a glimpse of something you have never once felt in all your years of faith. Not his approval of what you do, his delight in who you are. They are different substances entirely. Approval is a measurement. Delight is a temperature. And the first time you feel the temperature, the first time it lands on you that the maker of everything does not merely tolerate you, does not merely pass you, but actually enjoys you, takes pleasure in the particular way you are made, laughs at what makes you laugh, treasures the exact texture of your company, you will understand why I saved this for near the end. Because a witness can testify to facts from the courtroom, but the testimony that ends the oldest trial, the testimony about whether goodness is real and whether love holds, that testimony can only be given by someone who has sat in the family room and felt the temperature. Your file made you a credible witness. The delight will make you an unstoppable one. So this week, alongside the guarded hour and the kept record, begin the 3 prayers. Report in the evening, 2 unhurried minutes. Receive in the morning, hands open, producing nothing, and once, at least once, before 7 days pass, lean over the table and ask, "What are we building?" And then stay quiet long enough to be surprised. Do not manufacture answers. The half-lit years taught you to do all the talking in prayer because silence frightened you. The restored years will teach you the other half of conversation. Some of what arrives in those silences over the coming months, ideas with a certain unmistakable weight to them, will be the drawings sliding across the table. You will know them when they come. They feel less like thinking and more like remembering something from ahead. And now you are truly ready for the gathering of threads, because the last thread just went into place. You know what was watched, and why the silence held, and what was stolen, and what restores it. And now you know the room where the rest of your walk will happen, and the postures that belong to it. The courtroom formed you. The family room will finish you. Everything that remains in this message, the recap, the practical edge, the name, the scene, the commissioning, all of it is spoken into that room, across that table, at that temperature. Comb. So, where does that leave us? Let me gather the threads, because we have woven quite a tapestry, and I want you to see the whole pattern before we take the final steps together. You began this message believing you had spent years waiting on God. You now know you were being watched. In a quiet audition, designed to reveal essence rather than performance. You know the 5 signs that marked you as the kind of person heaven observes closely. You know about the witness windows, the betrayal you answered with grace, the giving from emptiness, the night you held on alone. You know that the silence was test condition, protection, and scaffolding all at once, and that what it built in you, unborrowed identity, is the rarest material in the record. You know about the full price moment, the small, unremembered choice that settled your file. And you know the strangest part, that you did every bit of it with a half-lit mind, running on a fraction of your birthright, which is why the verdict came back not as approval but as astonishment. You also now know what almost nobody walking this earth knows about themselves. You know the dimming has a mechanism, a real one, 2 hemispheres designed for conversation, silenced slowly by the modern world. You know why effort could never fix it, why the disciplines failed, why the gap between your inner size and your outer results was never a moral failure. And you know that the dimming is reversible, that serious science stands behind the reversal, and that a road back exists, which does not require 20-minute breathing, marathons, or machines that cost more than a car. Which means you are standing, right now, in the exact position the whole message has been walking you toward. Audition complete. Verdict returned. Season turning. And one question left on the table. The only question that matters now. When the capacity comes back, what will you do with it? Because I need to tell you something about the word impressed that we have not touched yet. Impressed is not a retirement gift. In the record, heaven never expresses that kind of notice about a person and then files them away. Notice precedes assignment. Every single time. The servant who multiplied what he was given hears "well done" and is immediately handed more. The pattern is fixed. Approval is not the end of the story. Approval is the qualification round for wait. God is not finished being impressed by you. He has simply finished being impressed by what you can do with half. The next chapter of your file has a heading you have never seen before. It reads, "What this one did with the whole thing." Sit inside that sentence. Somewhere above your life there is an open page waiting to record what you become at full capacity. The betrayals are already written. The unseen years are already written. The half-lit heroics are already written. The blank page is the restored years. And unlike every previous chapter, which was written to you and about you, this one is waiting to be written with you. That is what changes when an audition ends. You stop being evaluated and start being equipped. The pen shifts. Now, at the very beginning of this message, I made you 3 promises: that you would understand why the silence was never absence, that you would feel the ache of being unseen lift, and that you would be handed something practical before we finished, because insight without instrument is just a beautiful ache. 2 promises are kept. The third one is due. So in the next few minutes, I am going to walk you through exactly what the neurologist in New York built, what it does, what it costs, and how to decide, calmly and without pressure, whether it belongs in your restoration. No theatrics, just the truth laid out in plain light, the way you would want a friend to lay it out. But before I do that, I want to answer the question that may be forming in you right now, which is why a message about God and auditions and sacred verdicts is about to talk about something built in a laboratory. It is a fair question, and it deserves a real answer. Here is the answer. Restoration in the record is almost never abstract. When heaven restores, it uses instruments. The prophet carries oil. The healer uses clay and water. The wall builders carry tools in one hand. Provision arrives as ravens and flour and a jar that does not run dry. Physical things, ordinary things, things you could touch. We have somehow inherited a spirituality that expects restoration to arrive as pure feeling, and then we walk right past the instruments because they look too ordinary, too physical, too available. If the dimming of your mind happened through physical means, through screens and stress and noise, rehearsing one half of you for decades, then it should not offend you that the relighting might also come through physical means. The sacred and the practical were never enemies in the record. They were partners. The parting of the sea was a miracle. Somebody still had to lift the staff. And there is one more reason the practical matters so much right now, in your case specifically. You are tired. Let us just say it plainly. The audition was long and you ran it on half power, and you are carrying a tiredness that sleep does not fix. Any road back that demands enormous new effort from you is a road designed for somebody else. Whatever heaven hands you in this season has to meet you where you actually are, in the real house, with the real schedule, with the real exhaustion. Grace has always had a shape, and the shape of grace is that it does the heavy part. Keep that sentence, because in about a minute, you are going to see it take physical form. So here is what I am going to do. First, in plain words, no imagery, I will summarize what is actually wrong and what actually fixes it, so the practical part stands on clear ground. Then I will introduce you to the instrument itself. And then, chosen one, we will finish what we came here to do, because beyond the practical, there is still a blessing to speak over you, and I have been holding it since the first sentence of this message. It is the part I have been most looking forward to. That is who you have been. It is not who you are required to stay. Let us put the plain truth on the table. Here is the why, with no metaphor. Your mind has 2 hemispheres. Modern life overtrains one and starves their connection. Decades of that produce exactly what you live with: scattered focus, fog, a painful gap between sensed potential and actual output, effort that yields less than it should. This is measured, documented, and common to nearly everyone raised in the modern world. It is not a character flaw. It is a training imbalance. Here is the what. The fix is not more effort from the trained half. The fix is restoring the conversation between the halves, what the research tradition calls whole brain activation. When the two sides synchronize, measurable things return, faster connection making, calmer sustained focus, the state researchers call flow, and the subjective sense of being fully present in your own mind. The science of this goes back to a Nobel-recognized body of research on the split brain, and it has been advanced since by clinical work in laboratories studying peak states. And here is the who. This matters for anyone, but it is urgent for a specific kind of person. The person carrying assignments larger than their current output, the person whose inner certainty of capacity has survived years of outer frustration, the person this entire message has been describing. In other words, it is for you, at this exact hinge of your story, where restored equipment is the difference between an impressive past and an unrecognizable future. You now know what has been blocking you. The mechanism is clear. The door is visible. The only question left is how it opens. Chosen one, everything you are, everything the audition proved, deserves a mind that matches it. So let me introduce you to the man I mentioned, and to what he made. His name is Dr. Daniel Barone, a neurologist practicing in New York City, a man who has spent his career inside the clinical study of how human minds falter and recover. He is not a guru. He is not a stage personality. By every account, he is the kind of physician who speaks quietly, the way people speak when they are used to being believed. And like us, he was haunted by the same body of research we have been discussing, the Nobel-recognized work of Dr. Roger Sperry on the split brain, the discovery that the mind is two geniuses in conversation, and the mounting evidence that modern life had silenced that conversation in nearly everyone. But where most researchers stopped at describing the problem, he kept asking a stubborn question. The existing roads back all demanded what exhausted people do not have. The breathing protocols demanded 20 hard minutes of daily discipline. The clinical machines demanded hundreds of dollars an hour in specialized offices, thousands to bring home. Meditation demanded months of practice before the first fruit. He wanted to know whether the two hemispheres could be invited back into conversation passively, without effort, without equipment, without expertise, using nothing but sound and the natural plasticity of the mind itself. Years of work with his colleagues produced an answer, a precisely constructed 8-minute auditory sequence, engineered using what the team named neural sync technology, designed to gently guide the two hemispheres back into synchronized activity. The state Sperry showed to be the foundation of whole brain function, not sound as entertainment, sound as architecture. Each minute of the sequence structured to walk the two halves of the mind toward each other, like a patient mediator walking two estranged friends back into the same room. They call it the genius switch. And before your guard rises, and it should rise, you have earned that guard. Let me tell you what it actually asks of you, because this is the part that made me sit up. It asks for 8 minutes a day. That is the entire protocol. You put on headphones, you close your eyes, you press play, and for 8 minutes you do absolutely nothing. You do not concentrate. You do not repeat phrases. You do not visualize. You do not try. The sequence does its work beneath your awareness, the way the dimming itself happened beneath your awareness. Whatever was done to you passively is being undone passively. If you miss a day, nothing collapses. You simply continue the next day. You can pair it with prayer or quiet if you wish, but it does not require even that. It requires headphones and the ability to sit still for the length of 2 songs. Remember what we said about grace having a shape, that grace is the thing that does the heavy part. Look at the shape of this. After decades in which every self-improvement road demanded you climb, the road that finally addresses the actual mechanism asks you to sit down. There is something almost pointed about that, something that sounds like the way heaven likes to make a point. The striving could not fix what striving broke, so the fix arrives wearing the shape of rest. Now let me tell you what people report, because a claim like this deserves witnesses. More than 18,000 ordinary Americans have used the sequence, and their reports cluster in ways that should sound familiar by now. A nurse from San Diego, a woman who had spent years pouring herself out for patients while her own inner life ran on fumes, described the first change as silence, the good kind. The mental static she had carried so long she thought it was part of her personality simply thinned, and inside that new quiet she began having ideas again, her own ideas, for the first time in a decade. She said it felt less like becoming someone new and more like a reunion. A man from Houston who runs a small online business described it differently, because men like him measure differently. He talked about output. Projects that had sat at 80% for months began closing. Decisions that used to take him a week of circling took an afternoon. He said the strangest part was that work started to feel the way it felt when he was young and building things out of scrap wood, absorbing, whole, almost like play. His revenue moved, but that is not the part he talks about. He talks about feeling like himself at full strength for the first time in his adult life. And a woman from Manhattan said the thing I most want you to hear. She came from a family line of brilliant people who never became anything, a line of dimmed minds passing dimness down like an heirloom nobody wanted. She had watched her father sense his own wasted size his whole life. When the lights came back on in her, the first thing she did was weep, and the second thing she did was sit her children down and tell them the family story was changing, starting with her. One person in a line gets the lights back on and shows the others the switch exists. She decided it would be her. You already know why I am telling you that one. These are ordinary people. Not monks, not geniuses, not the disciplined elite. Tired, faithful, stretched thin people. The exact population the audition produces. And their stories share one architecture. Restoration did not arrive as thunder. It arrived as quiet, then clarity, then capacity, in that order, over days and weeks. The way dawn arrives, gradually, and then unmistakably. I want to be careful here, because you have been sold things before, and I refuse to add this message to that pile. So let me say plainly what the genius switch is not. It is not magic. It is not a substitute for your walk with God, your healing, your responsibilities, or your courage. It will not write your book, or repair your marriage, or build your calling while you watch. What it does is narrower and more important. It restores the equipment those things were always waiting on. It reopens the conversation between the two halves of the mind that were designed, from the first day of you, to work as one. What you build with a whole mind is still up to you, and the one who watched you earn this season. That division of labor never changes. The instrument is not the assignment. The instrument is for the assignment. And that distinction is exactly why I could bring it into a message like this one without flinching. Because when I hold it up against the pattern of the record, oil and clay and staffs and ravens, ordinary instruments carrying extraordinary timing, it fits. The timing fits. The shape fits. The population it keeps finding, the faithful, exhausted, overlooked ones, fits. You waited years for the audition to end. It ended. And within the same season, an instrument for the dark rooms found its way into your hands. You can call that coincidence if you need to. You have earned the right to your caution, but you have also read enough of your own file today to know what your gut is telling you about coincidences of this caliber arriving in this exact week of your life. So, let us talk plainly about access, the way a friend would, with the numbers on the table and no games. When the work was finished, colleagues who saw what the sequence did told Dr. Barone, it should be priced like the clinical alternatives. It outperforms in convenience. And the number $500 was mentioned more than once, which, set against neurofeedback sessions at hundreds of dollars an hour and home machines costing $7,000, was not an unreasonable thought. It was listed instead at $49 because the team wanted it reachable for ordinary people rather than impressive to wealthy ones. And through the page connected to this message, the page in the description below, and in the pinned comment, it is currently $39, $10 under its own list price. $39 once for lifetime access to the sequence, sent to your email within minutes of ordering. No shipping, no subscription, nothing recurring. I have thought about how to frame $39 honestly, and here is the truest frame I know. It is one restaurant meal. It is a tank of gas. Set that against the arithmetic of the half-lit mind, the ideas that drifted past unclosed, the years of output lost to fog, the sheer cost of running your calling on half power for one more year, and the question answers itself. You have spent more than this, many times, on things that made the static louder. This is the first $39 aimed at the actual mechanism. They also refuse to let risk live on your side of the table. The Genius Switch carries a 100% ironclad money-back guarantee. Listen to how it actually works, because this is not the usual fine print. You can use the sequence fully, every day, and if you decide it is not producing what I have described, you write one email, and every dollar returns to you. There is no limit on how much you can have listened. No questions, no forms, no friction, which means the only thing you genuinely risk here is 8 minutes a day for a stretch of days. They can afford that guarantee for one reason. The return rate makes it affordable. People keep it. And because the season this message serves is a restoration season, the team stacked 4 gifts on top for everyone who starts now. A guided visualization from one of the most highly rated creators on the Calm application, walking your newly synchronized mind through the 4 rooms of a restored life: money, love, health, and happiness. A smart grocery guide, built for American stores, naming 10 common foods that feed the fog you are trying to leave, with shortcuts that save real money at the places you already shop. A classic book on the attraction of prosperity, more than a century old, the quiet root that most modern teaching grew from. Yours at no cost, though it sells for $20 on its own. And a beautifully designed page of the 5 habits that most reliably build an ideal future, made to be printed and placed where your eyes land every morning. Small things, chosen well, all pointing the same direction as everything we have said today. One caution, and I give it to you the way I would give it to family. The page in the description is the only place this exists. It is not sold on Amazon, not on the video platforms, not on the music services, and anything wearing its name in those places is a counterfeit trading on the trust of tired people. Go only through the official page below. And know that the $39 figure is written in pencil, not stone. The team has said openly that the price will rise, and no one can promise what it will be next month. I do not say that to rush you. I say it because you have been the person who found out about good things late for your entire life, and that pattern ends in this season too. Now hear the sentence that matters more than the price. The Genius Switch is not for everyone. That is not a sales line. It is a sorting line. It is not for people content with the hallway, people who have made peace with half, people for whom this message was interesting rather than surgical. It is for the ones who sat here for these 2 hours because every paragraph was reading their mail. The ones who did the unwitnessed years, who paid full-price moments in the dark, who carried other people on half a mind and apologized for the strain. If that is you, and you know by now whether it is, then this is simply the practical edge of everything heaven has been arranging for you, and you will treat it accordingly, calmly, as one who recognizes provision when it arrives on schedule. If your spirit is nodding, the way is short. The link is in the description and in the pinned comment. It takes 2 minutes. Order it, watch your email, and tonight, before you sleep, put on headphones, close your eyes, and give the first 8 minutes back to the child who built kingdoms. And as you press play for the first time, say one sentence out loud, because instruments should always be dedicated. Say, "This is part of my restoration, and I receive it." Then, do nothing. Let something finally do the heavy part for you. Type the word "claimed" in the comments if you are stepping through. One word, so the others in this community can watch the row of lights coming on, name by name, person by person. And if the answer is not yet, or not this, hear me clearly. Nothing between you and heaven changes. The verdict was impressed before this instrument existed, and it remains impressed. The audition was never about what you buy. It was about who you are. Everything I am about to speak over you in the closing belongs to you either way, fully, without conditions. That has been true since the first sentence of this message, and it will be true after the last one. Because what the genius switch restores is capacity. But what this season restores is bigger than capacity. It restores your standing in your own eyes. And for that part, no purchase was ever required. Only what comes next. So walk with me now into the last stretch of this message, because before we finish, 3 things remain. There is a name I have been holding back, your name, the specific one, the title the record uses for people with your exact file. And I promised at the midpoint of this message that you would hear it before the end. There is a scene I want to walk you through 1 year from today, so that you leave here carrying a picture instead of a feeling. And then there is the blessing, the one I have been carrying since the first sentence, the words that this entire message exists to deliver. Everything, until now, was the explanation. What comes next is the impartation. Do not put this down at the 90-yard line, chosen one. The part of this message that people carry for years is the part that starts now. And since we are walking toward the closing together, let me give you something to steady you on the way, because a turn season does not always announce itself with trumpets. Most of the time it announces itself in small print, and people miss their own turning because nobody taught them to read it. So here are 7 quiet signs that the impressed season has already begun in a life. Read your last few weeks against them, and do not be surprised by what you find. The first sign is that the message found you. I mean this one, tonight. Content like this does not distribute evenly. It surfaces along lines of readiness, and the people it reaches at full length, all the way to this minute of it, are almost never browsing casually. Ask yourself honestly how many 2-hour messages you have finished this year. Something held you here. That holding is itself data. Verdicts, remember, are always announced, and the announcement usually arrives looking exactly like an ordinary evening in which an unordinary message would not let go. The second sign is the return of old dreams. Not new ambitions, old ones. In recent weeks or months, have things you buried years ago begun surfacing? The skill you abandoned, the idea from your 20s, the pull towards something you told yourself you had outgrown. That surfacing is not nostalgia. When a season turns, the reserved things circle closer, and the first way they announce themselves is through memory. The dreams come back first, to see if the door is going to open. The third sign is a new intolerance for the numbing. The shows that used to swallow evenings feel thinner lately. The scrolling leaves a residue it did not used to leave. Something in you has started checking its watch during activities that used to feel like rest. That restlessness is not dysfunction. It is the soul beginning to budget for an assignment, pulling hours back from the places they were leaking before you have consciously decided anything. The fourth sign is strange favor at the edges. Small things going unusually smoothly. The right person answering the email, the parking space, the refund, the coincidence that made you look up from your phone and frown slightly. Individually, nothing. Collectively, a pattern the old records describe as the going before, The way a path clears in advance of an arrival. Favor at the edges precedes favor at the center. Reliably, the way light on the horizon precedes the sun. The fifth sign is that certain relationships have begun rearranging themselves without your effort. Some people have drifted, gently, without a fight, like furniture being moved out of a room that is about to be used for something else. And one or two unexpected people have moved closer, people who see you a shade more accurately than your history usually allows. The audition years required an empty stage. The assignment years require a cast. The rearranging is the set change, and it happens in the dark between acts, which is exactly where you have been standing. The sixth sign is that your tears have moved. They come at different things now. The old wounds cry less, but certain kinds of beauty, certain kindnesses, certain sentences in messages like this one reach you with embarrassing speed. Do not be ashamed of that. Tears that migrate from wounds toward beauty are one of the most reliable markers in the entire file that a deep repair is underway. The waters only move when the ground under them has shifted. And the seventh sign, the quietest one, is that lately, in rare, unguarded moments, you have felt something you have almost been afraid to name. A small, unreasonable, persistent sense that something good is coming. It visits at odd times, folding laundry, driving at dusk, and it makes no sense against your circumstances. And you have learned not to trust feelings like it, because hope has burned you before. Chosen one, that sensation has a technical name in the grammar of heaven. It is called an announcement, arriving below the level of argument. In the only channel, the counterfeit voice cannot easily fake, the quiet certainty that comes without reasons. You have not been imagining it. You have been receiving it. Count your signs. Honestly, most people listening tonight will find 4 or 5 already active in their lives. Some will find all 7, and the finding tends to produce a specific reaction, a slow chill up the back. Because it is one thing to be told your season has turned, and another to discover the turning documented in your own recent weeks, in evidence you gathered yourself, before you knew it was evidence. That is the difference between believing a message and recognizing one. I never needed you to believe this message. Belief borrows, recognition owns. And what you are feeling right now, if the chill came, is ownership arriving. Carry the 7 signs with you into the coming weeks as a private instrument panel. When the flat morning comes, and it will, do not consult your feelings, consult the signs. Is the pull toward old dreams still there? Is the numbing still thinner? Is the favor still flickering at the edges? The weather of a soul lies daily, but the instruments hold steady, and a faithful witness, of all people, knows how to trust a record over a mood. You have spent your whole life being evidence for heaven. Let your own weeks, for once, be evidence for you. Before we climb toward the closing, I owe you one more piece of honesty about why I trust what I just shared with you. Because trust should never be asked for without showing its foundations. I have watched this community for a long time. I have read thousands of your comments. The 3 in the morning confessions, the quiet victories, the prayers typed with shaking hands. And over time you learn to recognize the difference between things that pass through a community and things that take root in one. Passing things generate excitement. Rooted things generate testimony. What struck me about the instrument I described was never its marketing. It was the pattern in the aftermath. The nurse who got her ideas back. The builder who started finishing things. The mother who called a family meeting to announce the curse was ending. Testimony has a texture that excitement cannot fake, the texture of specific, ordinary details, and everything I could verify had that texture. That is why it earned a place in this message, and that is the full extent of my reasons. You deserve to know them. There is also this, and I say it softly. What was described to you today does not restore your worth. Nothing restores what was never lost. It restores reach. Your worth was settled in the audition, sealed by the verdict, and stands complete this second whether you ever spend $1 on anything. But reach, the distance between what your soul intends and what your hands complete, reach is equipment, and equipment can be handed to you. Keep those two ledgers separate forever. Worth is not for sale anywhere. Reach sometimes is, for the price of a tank of gas, and there is no shame in either column. The record is full of priceless people picking up ordinary tools. If everything in this message has been landing, if you have felt read, seen, and named today, then before we enter the final stretch, declare it. Type the words, "My season" below. 2 words. They mean, I recognize where I am standing. They mean, the description matched the territory. They mean, whatever this message opened in me, I am not letting it close when the screen goes dark. Type it, and then do not move, because what remains is the part I have been holding since the beginning. Now let me tell you what heaven is watching for next, because you might assume, after everything, that the watching is over. The audition ended, the verdict landed. Surely the observation ends too. It does not. The nature of the watching changes, and understanding the new watching is the difference between entering this season correctly and stumbling into it. During the audition, he watched to discover. Now, he watches to delight. Do you understand the difference? A judge watches the exam. A father watches the graduation. Same eyes, utterly different light in them. For years, every choice you made was evidence. From now on, every choice you make is celebration. You have stepped out of the courtroom of your own life and into the stands, and the one watching is no longer taking notes. He is leaning forward the way you lean toward something you already believe in, waiting to enjoy what it does next. And what he is waiting to see next has 3 parts. I will give them to you plainly, because they are the map of your next year. First, he is waiting to see what you do with restored capacity. Not whether you deserve it, that question retired with the audition, but what you build. The ideas that return to a relit mind are not entertainment. They are assignments finally able to be received in full. When the fog thins and the connections start arriving, treat them as correspondence, the same way you learned to treat this message. Write them down. Act on the small ones fast. The speed of your obedience with small ideas sets the delivery rate of the large ones. That has always been the pattern, and you are about to be in a position to run it at full power for the first time in your adult life. Second, he is waiting to see who you free. This is the part nobody warns the restored about. The moment your lights come back on, you become intolerably visible to the dimmed people in your line. Your children, your siblings, the friend who is where you were 3 years ago. They will not ask you what changed. Not directly. They will circle it, watching. The way you once would have watched a person who had something you had lost the word for. And in those circling moments, you will hold the switch for someone else. Not to preach, to testify, briefly, specifically, the way the woman from Manhattan sat her children down. One person in a line gets the lights on and shows the others it is possible. He is waiting, with particular delight, to watch you become that person. And third, he is waiting to see how you receive. Hear this one carefully, because it is aimed at your oldest wound. You are an expert giver and a terrible receiver. The audition years taught you to hold everything and ask for nothing, and that skill served its season. But the coming season runs on the opposite muscle. The doors, the favor, the help, the recognition, they are going to start arriving, and your reflex will be to deflect, to insist you are fine, to hand every gift sideways to someone more deserving. Chosen one, deflected blessing does not return to sender marked humble. It returns marked refused. The final thing he is waiting to see, the one that will close the loop your whole story has been opening, is whether the one who gave everything in the dark can learn to open the hands and take what the light brings. Receiving is not weakness. Receiving is the amen at the end of the audition. Practice it on small things this week: a compliment, an offer of help, a kindness. Let the muscle wake up. It has an inheritance to carry. And before this message ends, I am going to speak something over your life. I have saved it deliberately. It is not a summary, and it is not encouragement. It is the kind of words that older traditions would call a commissioning. The words spoken over a person when a hidden season officially closes and an open one officially begins. But a commissioning requires a name, and you are still one name short. The record does not commission generic soldiers. It commissions named ones. So the next thing we must do, before the blessing can land, is find out what you are actually called in the file that reads impressed. You have been called chosen one throughout this message, and that is true, but it is a category, not a name. Your name is more specific. It has been waiting under every paragraph of the last 2 hours, and when you hear it, you will recognize it the way you recognize your own reflection arriving suddenly in a dark window. In the old records, names are never decorations. They are diagnoses of destiny. A man wrestles through a night and limps out with a new name because the old one described his past and the new one described his future. A fisherman with a wavering heart is renamed the Rock, not because he was one, but because he would be. When heaven renames a person, it names the thing it has been building in them all along. The thing, the person themselves, is always the last to see. So look at what was built in you, one more time, with naming eyes. A person who does right without witnesses. A person who carries others while hiding their own weight. A person whose hope survives conditions that kill hope. A person surrounded by reserved almosts. A person whose line to heaven never closed. A person who paid full price moments in the dark and forgot them, while heaven wrote them in large letters. A person who did all of it dimmed, at half power, without excuse. What do you call someone whose entire function, proven across decades, is to keep faith with what is true when there is nothing in it for them and no one there to see? You call them a witness. And when the witnessing has been tested through every winter and never once recanted, you call them faithful. Chosen one, hear your name. In the file that reads impressed, you are called the faithful witness. Let the name settle onto you, because it explains things even this message has not touched yet. It explains why your life kept placing you in positions to see things, to hold confidences, to be present at the turning points of other people, while your own seemed delayed. Witnesses are stationed, not stranded. Every room you thought you were forgotten in, you were posted in. It explains why your words, on the rare occasions you fully spoke them, landed with a weight that surprised you. The testimony of a faithful witness carries court authority, even when the witness speaks quietly, even when the witness doubts themselves walking to the stand. And it explains the loneliness, the specific flavor of it, the sense of standing slightly apart from every group you have ever loved. Witnesses stand where they can see. The distance was never rejection, it was vantage. And now the name is doing what names do, reaching backward through your whole story and relabeling the file. The child who felt everything too deeply, relabeled. A witness in training, learning to register what others miss. The young adult betrayed and disillusioned, relabeled. A witness learning that testimony must survive cross-examination. The years of invisibility, relabeled. The sealed chamber where witnesses are kept until their testimony is needed. Do you see it? Nothing in your life was random. It was procedural. There is a case being built in the earth, a long one, about whether goodness is real, whether faithfulness is possible, whether light actually holds in the dark. And your entire life, every unwitnessed choice, is entered in the evidence. You were never an extra in the story of someone else. You are a key witness in the oldest trial there is. Which is why the enemy of your soul worked so hard to keep you dimmed and convinced of your own insignificance. No one bothers to silence irrelevant witnesses. The size of the effort spent discouraging you is a precise measurement of the weight of your testimony. All those years of feeling targeted by discouragement, out of proportion to your visible importance, you were not imagining it, and you were not being paranoid. You were being handled the way opposing counsel handles the witness who can end the case. It failed. You are still here, testimony intact, and now equipped for the stand. So when I speak the commissioning over you in a few minutes, I will be commissioning you by name, and you will know exactly what is being commissioned. Not a vague chosen one among millions. A faithful witness, tested, named, and called to testify in the specific rooms your restored life is about to walk into. But first, the promised scene. 1 year from today. Come with me, because you have earned the full picture, and I want you to see it in detail, not as wishing but as trajectory. The reasonable forecast of a restored witness walking the pattern we have laid out today. It is early morning, 1 year from now. You wake before the alarm, and notice the first difference before your feet touch the floor. The dread is not there. That grey weight that used to sit on your chest before the day even started, the one you carried so long you thought it was, what mornings felt like, gone. And not because life became easy, because the machinery that processes life came back online. You sit up into a quiet mind, and the quiet is not emptiness. It is readiness, the quiet of a workshop at dawn, tools hung, bench clear. You make your coffee, and you do the 8 minutes, the way you have most mornings for a year now, eyes closed, headphones on, the small dedication you once said out loud, now worn smooth by repetition. This is part of my restoration, and I receive it. It is not a ritual of hope anymore. It is maintenance of a fact. Then you sit down to the work. And here is where your own eyes would widen, if the you of today could watch the you of that morning. Because the work is the thing. The assignment you carried as an ache for 20 years exists now, outside your head, in the world, partly built. The book has chapters, the business has customers. The ministry has faces in its rooms. The reconciliation has phone calls behind it and plans ahead of it. Whatever your version of the thing is, it has stopped being a feeling and started being an address, a file, a schedule, a place where other people can find it. The gap between inner size and outer life, the gap that defined your entire adult existence, has been closing for months, steadily, like a wound, finally given the conditions to heal. And the people. This is the part of the scene I most want you to hold. There are people in your 1 year picture who are only there because your lights came on. The younger one in your line who watched you change and quietly asked what happened, and the conversation that followed, and what they are becoming now because of it. The friend you were able to actually help, not with tired sympathy, but with clear-eyed presence. The strangers finding whatever you built. When a witness takes the stand, the courtroom fills. It was never going to be a private restoration. Yours are already gathering, 1 year out, drawn by a light they cannot name yet. Come back to the present now, gently. That scene is not a fantasy island. It is downstream of decisions available to you today, and every element of it, the quiet mind, the built assignment, the gathered people, sits on the far side of a single hinge, the one this message has been slowly swinging open for 2 hours. But before the commissioning, there is one thing left to do, and it is the heaviest and most healing thing we will do together. We are going to read the catalogue back, because here is what I know about you, faithful witness. You have heard everything today. You have understood it, felt it, maybe wept through parts of it. But there is a difference between understanding your years were not wasted and hearing them individually redeemed. General absolution never healed anyone. Specifics heal. So breathe slowly, and let me read the record the way it is actually written. Entry by entry. Over the years you have grieved the most. The years you spent in a job that was beneath your mind, that felt like watching your own life through glass. The record does not say wasted. The record says, Here the witness learned the inner lives of ordinary rooms, the exact rooms their testimony is sized for. Entered as preparation. The relationship that took years and left scars, the one you still visit at night wondering what was true. The record does not say fooled. The record says, here the witness learned the precise anatomy of counterfeit love, and here their discernment was forged. The discernment now protecting everything they are about to build. Entered as tuition, paid in full, never owed again. The season you fell apart, the one you are most ashamed of, when you were not strong, not faithful, not kind, when you were the one who needed carrying. The record does not say, disqualified. The record says, here the witness learned what breaking feels like from inside, so their testimony would forever carry the tenderness that only the broken trust. Entered as credentialing. Your compassion has a degree, and that season is where it studied. The prayers that were never answered, the ones you finally stopped praying. The record does not say denied. The record says redirected, and attached to each one is a footnote you will read someday with your hand over your mouth, explaining what each no was protecting you from and what each delay was building toward. Entered as mercy, wearing the disguise mercy most often wears. And the years of dimness itself, the half-lit decades, the theft we spent this whole message uncovering. The record does not say victim. The record says, and read this slowly. Here is the wonder of the file, that this witness, dimmed, unaware, running on a fraction, still outperformed the fully lit, still chose right in the dark, still kept the line open. Let it be entered forever. This one did the most with the least. Entered as the exhibit that made the judge himself say, impressed. That is your catalogue, faithful witness. Not one wasted year in it, not one. The grief you have carried about your own timeline can be set down now, tonight, here. It was all procedure. It was all preparation. It was all, every unexplained ache of it, the specific curriculum of the specific witness this specific hour required. You did not miss your life. You were being fitted for it. So now, stand, in spirit, if not in body, because everything is finally in place. The audition, complete. The verdict, delivered. The theft, uncovered. The instrument, offered. The name, spoken. The catalogue, redeemed. There is nothing left between you and the commissioning, and I am not going to delay it one paragraph further. But a commissioning is not something you listen to. It is something you receive with your whole architecture, and so I ask you to do something first. Something small and physical. Wherever you are, let your hands rest open. On your knees, on the desk, at your sides, palms up. The oldest posture of receiving the human body knows. If you are driving or walking, simply open the hands of your heart. You know how. You have done it in prayer without being taught. And close your eyes if it is safe to, because what comes next is not information, and the eyes are for information. This is impartation, and impartation lands best in the dark, which, after everything we have learned today, should not surprise you at all. The best things in your life have always landed in the dark. Now breathe in slowly, and as you do, picture one image, the last image this message will ask of you. Picture every unwitnessed moment of your life, all of them at once. The kept promises no one saw, the kindnesses no one recorded, the 3 in the morning faithfulness, gathered up like scattered candles into 2 great hands. See how many there are. You never counted them. They were counted. See the hands hold them the way a jeweler holds weight, knowing exactly what it is worth. And now see the light of all of them together. All those small flames you thought disappeared into empty rooms, burning in one place, at one time, bright enough to read by. That light is what he was looking at. All those years, while you thought the house was dark. That light is what impressed him. You built that light blind. You are about to see what you can build with your eyes open. Hold that light in your inner vision a moment longer, And then let me do one last practical thing before the commissioning, because a new season handed to a person without instructions is a gift half given. The restored season has enemies and it has maintenance, and a faithful witness deserves to know both. 3 tools. Learn them this week. The first tool is discernment of the counterfeit voice. Within days of a genuine turning, sometimes within hours, a voice will arrive that sounds reasonable and aims at reversal. It will not announce itself as opposition. It will sound like realism. It will say, "That was just an emotional evening. Nothing actually changed. You have felt this before, and it faded, remember?" Here is how you test it. The voice of heaven, even when correcting you, always leaves you larger. The counterfeit, even when flattering you, always leaves you smaller. Size is the test. Any voice that shrinks the season back into just an emotional evening has identified itself, and a witness does not argue with identified counterfeits. A witness notes them for the record and keeps walking. The second tool is the boundary around your mornings. Whatever else changes, guard the first hour of the day. Like a courtroom guards evidence, the half-lit years were maintained by mornings that began with noise, other people demands, the scroll, the flood. The restored years are maintained by mornings that begin with quiet, with the 8 minutes if you have taken up the instrument, with a page of writing down what arrives. You do not need a monastery. You need one defended hour. The witness who owns the first hour of the day cannot be redimmed by the other 23. That is not poetry. That is engineering. And by now you know the mechanism well enough to know why it is true. And the third tool is the kept record. Get something to write in. This week, begin recording what you notice. The returned ideas, the softened reflexes, the doors that open an extra beat, the almosts that begin to land. Do this for one reason. The counterfeit voice we named feeds on forgetting. 6 months from now, when it whispers that nothing ever really changed, you will open a book in your own handwriting and read what changed, dated, specific, undeniable. You spent decades being faithfully unrecorded. Now you record. It is fitting, faithful witness, that the person heaven kept a file on learns to keep one too. Now for the week itself, hear what to expect, so that nothing that happens catches you unprepared. In the first days after a message like this, there is usually a wave of lightness, and you should enjoy it without suspicion. Then, commonly, around the 3rd or 4th day, comes the flat morning, the one where you wake and feel nothing special, and the whole thing seems distant, like a film you watched. Chosen one, that morning is not evidence against the season. It is the first test of the witness in the new era, and it is almost charmingly predictable. Feelings are weather, verdicts are geology. The file still reads impressed on the flat mornings. The name is still yours in the fog. Walk the tools, the guarded hour, the record, the discernment, and the weather passes. And underneath it, you will find the season exactly where you left it, because it was never made of feelings in the first place. It was made of record. One more instruction, and this one is tender. Sometime in the next 7 days, tell one person, one true thing. Not the whole message, not the theology, just one true thing you have never said out loud. Perhaps I spent a lot of years feeling invisible, and something recently changed that. You will be amazed what that one sentence does, both in you and in them. Testimony sealed inside a witness goes stale. Testimony spoken, even once, even quietly, becomes load-bearing. And somewhere in your circle there is a person running on half power in the dark, months from their own turning, who needs to hear from someone they trust that turnings exist. You do not need to fix them. You are not their savior. You are their evidence. Be evidence once this week, and watch what it starts. That is the whole kit. Discern the shrinking voice. Guard the first hour. Keep the record. Speak once. 4 practices. None of them heroic. All of them the daily walk of a commissioned witness. The audition asked you for endurance. The season only asks you for stewardship, and stewardship, for someone of your file, is the easy yoke. You have carried mountains, faithful witness. You can carry a notebook. Let me even give you the first entry, so the notebook does not sit blank and intimidating the way blank pages do. Tonight, before you sleep, write the date at the top of the first page, and under it, write 4 lines. Write, "Today I learned that the silence was watching me." Write, "Today I was given my name," and then write the name, because there is a power in seeing it in your own handwriting that hearing alone does not deliver. Write, "Today the audition ended," and then write 1 sentence, just one, about the moment in this message that reached you the deepest, whichever paragraph put the lump in your throat or the chill up your back, because 6 months from now, that sentence will tell you exactly who you were on the night everything turned. That first page matters more than you know. Every restored life I have ever heard of has some version of it. A physical artifact from the turning night, a thing the hands made while the heart was still warm. The counterfeit voice cannot argue with your own handwriting. The flat morning cannot revise a dated page. You are a witness, after all, and witnesses know better than anyone that testimony, to hold up, must be recorded while the event is fresh. Your event is fresh right now, chosen one. It is fresher than it will ever be again. Record it tonight, and the page will keep the door propped open on every morning the fog tries to close it. And if the pen feels awkward in your hand after all these years, write anyway. The awkwardness is just the receiving muscle again, showing up in your fingers this time. Nobody grades the handwriting in a witness ledger. What matters is that the record exists, made by you, on the night it happened, in the house where it happened, by the person it happened to. And now there is nothing left in front of the commissioning, so let the room quiet down. If there is music in your space, let it play low or not at all. If people are near, let them blur. For the next few minutes, this message narrows to a width of exactly 1 soul, yours, and I want you to hear everything that follows as spoken directly at you, because it is, not to an audience, to the witness, to the one who held on the night no one saw, to the one who gave from empty, to the one who stayed warm in the freezing years, to the one who ran the whole way on half and never once put the burden down. The judge has read your file. The verdict is in. And what follows now are the words that close one era of your life and open another. Receive them with open hands. Faithful witness, hear the commissioning. May you never again mistake silence for absence. May every quiet room you enter for the rest of your life remind you, in the first breath, that quiet is where you were most seen, and may the old ache of invisibility, when it visits, find nothing left in you to hold on to, because the one who was watched in the dark has no reason to fear an empty room again. May the years be restored to you, the eaten years, the dimmed years, the years you grieved as lost. May they return with their fruit, intact and multiplied, in the pattern of the ancient promise, and may you live long enough and clear enough to look back at the locust seasons and see, with your own eyes, that nothing, not 1 hour, not 1 tear, not 1 unwitnessed act of faith, was wasted in the accounting of heaven. May your mind come fully home. May the 2 geniuses you were born with find each other again, across the long silence. May the dark rooms light one by one, and may there be a morning, soon, when you catch yourself thinking at full voltage, building at full reach, seeing at full depth, and stop mid-thought to whisper thank you, because you remember what half felt like, and you know exactly what you were given back. May your assignments find you equipped. May the ideas that return be assignments recognized. May your obedience with small things be swift, and may the large things arrive at a pace your restored shoulders can carry. May the work of your hands stop leaking. May what you build stand, and may the gap between the size of your soul and the shape of your life close steadily until the day the two are indistinguishable, and the people who knew you in the half-lit years struggle to describe what changed. May your line be altered through you. May the dimming that passed unchallenged from generation to generation find, in you, the one it could not pass through. May your children and the children after them inherit lit rooms and open bridges, and may there come a day, long after this message is forgotten, when someone in your line does something luminous and never knows they can do it because somewhere upstream, a faithful witness got the lights back on and refused to let the darkness be normal one generation longer. May you learn to receive. May the hands that gave in secret learn to open in public without flinching. May compliments land. May help be accepted. May blessing be taken whole and unhandled and undeflected. And may the Amen of your audition be a life so unafraid of being loved that heaven can finally give you gifts without watching you pass them sideways. And may you know, on ordinary Tuesdays and terrible Thursdays alike, in fog and in clarity, in the flat mornings and the bright ones, that the verdict does not fluctuate. You are seen. You are named. You are commissioned. The file is written in ink that weather cannot touch, and the word across its cover, from a judge who is never careless with language, is impressed. Carry that word lightly, the way the strong carry things. It was never a trophy for your shelf. It is a lamp for your feet. Walk by its light. Now, before the sealing, come with me into one final act, the activation, the practice that plants everything we have done today into the soil of your body, so that this hour lives in your bones and not just your memory. This will take only a few minutes, and it is the most important few minutes of the message. Follow my words slowly. First, settle. Sit or lie so that nothing strains. Let your hands stay open. Close your eyes if you can. Take one breath so slow it almost bores you, in through the nose, hold it a heartbeat at the top, and let it fall out of you like something you are done carrying. Once more, slower. Good. Now build the image. You are standing in a long hallway, and you recognize it, because it is the inside of your own life. Behind you, the hallway stretches back through every year we spoke of today, and it is not dark anymore. Look, every full-price moment burns on the walls like a lamp, hundreds of them, more than you counted, lighting the corridor of your past all the way back to the child with the cardboard kingdom. The hallway you thought was empty was a gallery. It was always a gallery. Walk it slowly with your inner eyes and let yourself see how watched, how recorded, how accompanied you always were. And now turn around. Ahead, the hallway opens into a doorway you have never seen before, and the light coming through it is not lamplight. It is morning. That doorway is the season you are entering, and standing at the threshold is a figure you recognize the way. You recognize your reflection in a dark window. It is you, restored, full voltage, both halves lit. The faithful witness, commissioned and equipped, 1 year from now, 10 years from now, waiting for you the way the future waits for anyone brave enough to walk toward it. Look at their face. There is no exhaustion in it. There is no apology in it. That face is not a stranger, and it is not a fantasy. It is a forecast. Now the reframe, and let it settle, as deep as it will go. Everything you were, the invisible years, the half-power heroics, was the building of this hallway. Everything you are becoming, the restored mind, the landed almosts, the gathered people, is on the other side of that door. And you, here, tonight, are the hinge, not a victim of the past and not a beggar of the future. The hinge, the place where the whole long story turns. And now, the anchor. Bring one hand slowly to the center of your chest and let it rest there, over the place that has carried the most. Press gently. Feel the warmth build under your palm, and as it builds, say these words, out loud if you can, in a whisper if you must. I was seen the whole time. Say it once more, slower, and let the words go down below, thinking, into the place your body stores what is true. I was seen the whole time. From this night on, whenever the old invisibility ache returns, you will place this same hand on this same place, and the body will remember what the mind forgets. That is your anchor. It travels with you. It cannot be lost, and no one can take it, because it is made of the truest sentence in your file. Keep your hand where it is a moment longer, because now we close the way sacred things are closed, unhurried, in order, together. First, gratitude, spoken quietly into the room where you sit, not performed, just acknowledged. Somewhere in these 2 hours, something found you that you have needed for years, and it is right to say so before the seal. So say it inwardly with me now. Thank you for the watching I did not know about. Thank you for the silence that was scaffolding. Thank you for the years I called wasted that were curriculum. Thank you for a verdict I did not have to earn twice. Thank you that the message found me in the season it was written for, not a year early, not a year late. Let the thank you sit in your chest next to your hand, warm and unforced, the settled gratitude of a person who has stopped arguing with their own story. And now, release. Because hands cannot receive a new season while they are still gripping the old one. And you have been gripping some things for decades. So breathe slowly, and with each sentence, let the fingers of your soul open one by one. Release the years of feeling invisible. They ended tonight. Release the verdicts you passed on yourself in the dark, the lazy, the scattered, the not enough, every label you pinned on a half-lit mind doing full-lit work. They were inaccurate, and they are not coming with you. Release the people who could not see you. They were not given the eyes for it, and carrying their blindness has bent your back long enough. Release the prayers that seemed to die in the ceiling. They were rerouted, not refused, and their answers are already in the mail of your life. Release the shame of the season you fell apart. It was credentialing, and the tenderness it built is needed on the other side of the door. Release the grief of the almosts. They were reservations, and the table is nearly ready. And release, last and deepest, the exhausting lifelong project of proving you are worth watching. You never had an audience problem, faithful witness. You only ever had an information problem, and tonight, the information arrived. Let the whole project fall from your hands. Hear how quietly it lands. You do not have to pick it up again. Feel how much lighter the room just became. That lightness is not imagination. It is the actual weight of things you were never assigned to carry, leaving, and now stand up on the inside, because what remains is declaration, and declarations are not made lying down in the soul. The audition ended with a verdict from heaven. The message ends with a verdict from you. Say these words with me, out loud if your setting allows it, and mean every syllable, because the record takes dictation at moments like this. I am the one who was watched in the dark, and I am done calling the dark empty. I am the faithful witness, tested without applause, proven without witnesses, named without my knowing. I am not lazy, not scattered, not less. I ran the whole race on half, and heaven itself is impressed. I am not waiting anymore. The audition is over. The verdict is in. The season has turned, and I have turned with it. I am open-handed now. I will receive what the light brings. I will build what the restored mind carries, and I will hold the switch for the ones still dim in my line. I am seen. I was seen the whole time. And from this night forward, I will live like someone who knows it. That is the truest thing you have ever said about yourself. If those declarations shook something loose in you, write the words, "The audition is over," in the comments below, and let them stand as your signature in this record, beside the signatures of thousands of other witnesses who reached this hour before you and will recognize your name the way family recognizes family. And so, faithful witness, we seal it. May the God who watched you in every unwitnessed room walk ahead of you into every witnessed one. May your 8 minutes be faithful, your first hours guarded, your record kept, your testimony spoken, your hands open, your line altered, your years restored. The audition is over. The assignment begins. You were never invisible. You were being treasured in secret, and the secret is out. It is finished in you, and it is begun in you, both at once tonight. And so it is. Amen. One last thing before you go. You are going to remember this night, but not for the reason you think, not for the science, and not even for the name. You are going to remember it because tonight was the night the oldest question of your life, the one you asked, the ceiling in your emptiest hour, does any of it even matter, finally received its answer in full. Every quiet act, every held line, every unseen kindness, it mattered. It was all, always, being seen by the only eyes whose seeing settles things forever. He was waiting to see what you would do when it cost everything and paid nothing. You showed him. And he is truly, permanently, on the record, impressed. Go and live like the person in that file. The door is open, and the morning through it has your name on it.